Hello everyone and welcome to Witch Bitch, where we talk the real tea. And today we have an exciting beginning of our new of our old series, Ancient Mysteries series. So exciting stuff. We're bringing it back for 2023. And today we are going to be talking about Middle Earth. Okay, so Mum, you are not here for me right now.
Can't see me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. I think maybe it records okay, though.
Yeah, so let's just do it then.
Okay. So, I wanted to start this episode with talking about Admiral Byrd and his diary, because this is probably the most famous account of Middle Earth, and I think it's a good starting point, and then we can go back in time and we can go to the future of this point. We can go around here, but we'll start at Admiral Byrd's diary. So Admiral Byrd is a pretty famous and well-known admiral from around World War II time. And on the 19th of Feb in 1947, he went to an expedition to the Arctic, which is the one up north, which is interesting because a lot of what we're going to talk about later is actually done in Antarctica, but this one is in the Arctic. So he was flying over some mountains in the Arctic, and I don't really know what sorry, I'm just turning my phone on silent. He was flying over the Arctic, and he flew over these mountains, and he has a diary, and he talks about what he's seeing in real time. So he's seeing these mountains, and he's describing just ice everywhere. And then all of a sudden he talks about seeing this huge green in a vast ocean of white, and reporting these really strange things, and oh my god, there's all this green everywhere. And then he begins talking about an elephant.
Sorry to interrupt, but he's seen green land amongst the ice. Green land amongst the ice.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, he's talking about Greenland amongst the ice. And then he begins saying that he sees an elephant, and he's like, we're seeing an elephant, this is so crazy, why is there an elephant here? And then they're like, wait, it's a mammoth. And they're seeing a mammoth in 1947, which is extinct, or should be extinct. And so he's seeing a mammoth, and he's saying, oh my god, this is crazy, but there's a mammoth here. I mean, he's not saying it like that because he's an admiral, but he's saying it like that, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
He's shocked. So, and then all of a sudden, his plane controls are taken over, and he sees a city he describes it as rainbow iridescent city, and then he also sees a strange disc-shaped aircraft. So he's seeing a glowing rainbow city and also a UFO.
Yeah.
And his plane controls are taken over, and they are told over the radio that they are going to land in our domain. So the voice over the microphone is saying, you are going to land in our domain. So the voice is also reassuring. The voice isn't menacing or scary. It's reassuring them that they're going to be okay. And then when they land, they're greeted by these really tall, blonde men. And this is all in Admiral Byrd's diary. He says they were accommodated with drinks that they'd never tasted before, anything like these drinks. There was crystal buildings, and he's also taken to the master of this, whatever this place is. He's taken to the master, and the master told him that he is in Ariani, A-R-I-A-N-N-I. You were in Ariani, is what the master says. The world of inner earth is what, I don't know.
World of inner earth.
Is in Admiral Byrd's diary as well. Huh?
The world of inner earth, did you say?
Yeah.
Right.
Ariani, the world of inner earth. This is what's in Admiral Byrd's diary when I researched it. The master, and I don't know what else to reference him as, because that's what he calls himself. The master is talking about humans and how he hasn't been intervening, and like his society, like his whole civilization has been keeping very separate. But he's saying now that he has an interest in our human race because of the atomic bombings in Japan. And he's saying, like, because this is just after World War II that this is happening, this expedition. Yeah, he's saying that humans have reached a point of no return and that they want to help us.
Does it say how they're going to help?
The atomic bombings. Pardon?
Does it say how they're going to help us?
No, I think it's not really, doesn't really go too far into detail other than like what he saw and what he was told. But once he like reported this to his higher up, bosses, and I don't know what you call them, the people above him, they like, yeah, they would not let him like share this, and we're going to get into how his diary was actually shared later on. But let's just say it goes down a list of people, and a lot of people died with this diary before it got out.
Right.
So it's not like, because Admiral Byrd, he's like actually he's an admiral. Like, he won't make this stuff up, like it's not just him randomly deciding, oh, I want to have some fun and trick people. Like, no, he is a very prestigious figure in the world, especially at this time. So for that to get out, people would believe it for sure. So, yeah. Do you have any questions so far, Mum?
No, like, you're covering everything that I've wanted to ask you up until now. You've actually covered it before I've asked questions, so it's been good.
Okay. So, from there, I was thinking we go to the Legend of Shambhala, and I haven't done too much extensive research because a lot of my research went towards this other thing to do with Nazi Germany that we're going to get into. But Shambhala is like a big legend in East Asian cultures, but it also spreads across the board. Like, how one civilization has one legend and they have it's this name and this is what it's called, but then in other cultures, like, they have a very similar thing, but it's called something different. Yeah, so like the legend of Inner Earth is it's in every single culture, basically, every single ancient civilization. But in East Asian, Pardon?
Does Shambhala have to do with Admiral Byrd? Admiral Byrd.
It doesn't have to do with Admiral Byrd, but it does have to do with Middle Earth.
Right.
Because we're talking about Middle Earth.
Yeah.
And all the legends that investigating it, you know?
Yeah.
So, there was another explorer called Nicholas Roerich, and he was a Russian painter, a philosopher, and an explorer. And he travelled extensively in Far East Asia, and claimed that the capital of Tibet was connected via underground tunnels with the Shambhala capital. So remember, Shambhala is Tibet's Middle Earth, is Middle Earth. Shambhala is the legend of Middle Earth. So he's saying that the capital of Tibet and the capital of Shambhala are connected via underground tunnels. And it's just kind of random that this random philosopher and painter and explorer who's visited this country is saying that. I mean, to be fair, he can totally be making that up, but I feel like he had to have gotten the idea from somewhere. And another thing is that the 14th Dalai Lama, he's actually spoken directly about Middle Earth. So he said, and I quote, "We can only say that it is pure land," talking about Shambhala or Middle Earth. "We can only say that it is pure land in the human realm. And unless one has the merit and the karmic association, one cannot actually arrive there." So what he's saying is you can't be there unless you have karmic ties to this place. And he literally spoke that out in public. So we have an admiral stating that he saw this ancient this weird civilization in the middle of the Arctic. Then you have this random philosopher from Russia, and he's claiming that there's a tunnel system going underground between Middle Earth and Tibet. And then you have the 14th Dalai Lama actually speaking directly about this to the public, and saying that it's a real place, but you can only get there if you have karmic ties. Bit of a weird one.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, other cultures see Middle Earth as so it's known by the Hindus as oh my gosh, it's such a hard word. Aryavata.
Spell it out.
And the Chinese call it, to spell it, it's Aryavabartha. Unless it's supposed to be. Yeah, Aryavabartha.
Aryava.
The Chinese call it CT. Pardon? You have to speak louder, I can't hear you.
I think there's a delay in the video.
Right. Did you say anything though?
I was just saying the word Aryava.
Oh yeah, okay. Then the Chinese call it C-teen, so HSI space TIEN, and the Russians call it Belovyde, which is BELOVOYDE, and then the Aztecs also have an underworld or a Middle Earth world of Zibala, which is very similar to Shambhala. It's just basically with an X as the first letter, which is XIBALBA. And the legend is actually referenced thousands of years ago in Vishnu Purana, which is like an ancient text, and that dates back to 400 BCE. So this is thousands of years old, this legend, and many cultures believe it. And then we have modern day admirals, explorers, and Dalai Lamas claiming that it's real. There's also many more people that have had accounts of this. Like, this is only skimming the very surface, and I definitely do want to do another episode on this. But yeah, it's very strange, and I think a lot of people have had accounts that, you know, you wouldn't be able to fit all in one episode because it's just crazy. Okay, so another one is, where I want to move on to next is around this random book that was written by this guy and somehow leads all the way up to Nazi Germany, and it actually takes you to places you never thought. Like, it's just so random, so random. But this is all about, it's about Middle Earth, but also I think it more focuses on how crazy people are, and just that, like, it's not talking directly about Middle Earth per se, but it's talking about the fact that many big names in history probably believed in Middle Earth, and that there was stuff going on in Antarctica when World War II was ending that we just don't even talk about, no one knows about or anything, and it's so random. Okay, so let's go back before World War II. This was before World War II. This man called Edward Bulwer-Lytton. Edward Bulwer-Lytton. That's a hard word to say. He wrote a science fiction book, and he always claimed that it was science fiction. And it's called The Coming Age. And this book is about an ancient civilization called the Vril Val. Oh, why can't I speak? And this society lives underground in Middle Earth, basically. They have a whole civilization, just like Admiral Byrd was talking about, this civilization with buildings and weird crafts and stuff. Basically, this was also in his book, that there was this society that lived underground. And the book actually goes into very deep detail about the civilization, to the point of, like, you know, I read fantasy books, maybe not science fiction, but I read fantasy books, and you love a book that has really good world building, but also this was, like, ridiculous. Like, he did not have to go into the amount of detail that he did. He went on for, like, I think it was something like 7 chapters just going into detail about how the gravity worked. Like, for chapters, he went on just about the gravity that worked in this place. So he's going into very deep detail that is quite unnecessary, and to be honest, doesn't really add much if you're just telling a science fiction story. So, it was like a bit crazy, like the amount of detail that he went into writing, not about any story, but just about how the world worked in his science fiction book. Now, I don't know if it was science fiction. I don't have my mind made up, because it very well might have been. He might have just been so into it that he just wrote 7 chapters about how gravity worked in this place. Or maybe he heard through connections, through first-hand accounts, how it worked. I don't know, but we're going to get into it because it gets really sus. So, he was actually in... Edward Bulwer-Lytton was actually a part of a secret society, and it's called the Golden Dawn. Now, I had actually personally heard about this, but have you?
No, never. First time.
Okay, so the Golden Dawn was created in 1885 by influential members of British society. So there was 144 members, and some of these included like the president of the Royal Academy, literally the author of Sherlock Holmes was in this, Arthur Conan Doyle, he was in this society, and then also Nobel Prize winners as well, and also the author of this science fiction novel. So the founder of the society's name was Samuel Mathers, and he claimed to be in contact with a group of superior beings, described as human beings living on this earth with terrible supernatural powers. And he compared being in their presence to being close to lightning. So he's like, I mean, coming from a perspective of like, you don't know this dude, he's kind of a crazy. Like he's the founder of this, Golden Dawn society, and he believes in these beings, and he believes that he talks to these beings that are just, got superpowers. But something that I feel like we shouldn't be forgetting is the fact that he's created a secret society with these huge names. I mean, he has to be doing something right. If he's got these huge people in his society, something has got to be going on. I don't know. But you can't just make up a society and have those people in it with you. You've got to be doing something in order to get these people to join. So the Golden Dawn, this society, was also in contact with other occult groups, because that's just how it works. And they were in contact with occult groups in Germany. Now this is where it links to Nazi Germany, because there was a whole other society built purely around the science fiction novel. Like, imagine building a society, like a secret society, around a book that is to the public known as science fiction. That's like me making a secret society about Harry Potter and claiming that it's real. You know what I mean? Like, it's not normal behaviour. So there's something definitely going on here. I mean, I totally would make a secret society about Harry Potter, by the way. It is real. Don't even at me. But, so this society was called the Vril Society. Now remember what I said, the ancient culture in the book was called the Vril Vow, and now this society is called the Vril Society. And in the book, it's important to note that, like, just to give you some background on what the story is behind the book, it's all about this society and how they're pretty effed in the head, and they believe in dictation. Dictatorship, and they also have this, like, basically this substance called the Vril, which powers everything, and it comes close to nothing that we have in our Earth, at least, that we know of, and it, like, powers everything, and it's like this huge source of energy, and this source of energy is called the Vril, Vril. So there's a society now called the Vril Society, and they very much did believe in Middle Earth and that there was a huge society in Middle Earth. Now, to be fair, they did not believe it in the way that it is in, like, the Tibetan cultures, and I haven't really done any research into the other cultures and how they perceive Middle Earth, but it's definitely different from the East Asian perspective of Middle Earth. It's very, very different. And it's also very different, at least to what Admiral Byrd seemed to report. Like, his experience seemed to be quite nice, and there was the master, and he was like, oh yeah, we want to help humans because you guys are effed in the head, you know, like, and we want to help you guys. And but their belief is completely based around this book, and they're saying like that this book, you know, like that the society believes in dictatorship and you know, like slavery basically. And think about Nazi Germany. It's literally, they believe that the Middle Earth society is like just a more advanced, more technologically advanced version of them. And they genuinely, in this society, they genuinely believe it. Now, the Vril Society were a group of, or possibly still are, I don't know if they're still around or not. They're a group of German nationalists who believe their ancestors to be the Vril Val. So not only do they believe in this place, now they believe, oh, they're our ancestors, we came from them. Don't know how they got there, but there's got to be some connection. So it was only, the existence of the society was only speculated. Like, no one really, people kind of knew about it, but they didn't know, and no one really had hard evidence about it. But pro and anti-Hitler journalists and people were reporting on it. So it's not like it just was a thing that was only talked about in that area in Germany. It was like, no, there was journalists talking about it, like we weren't sure if it was real or not. And it was quite odd because like we still don't really know. We just know of people that would have been in it, that were real. And then we also know that like things like napkins, I think it was a napkin or a handkerchief or something was found, and that had the Vril Society embroidered on it or like stamped in it or something. So we have traces of the group, and we know about it, but we don't know, like, you know, if I went to someone right now and was talking about it, I wouldn't have hard evidence to prove, yeah, this was actually a thing. It was just more low-key, it was a thing, you know, like, yeah. We can all agree here that there was something going on.
Well, that's why we're here, isn't it? That's why we're here talking about it, is to uncover those things and those kind of like question marks that were said by people. Is it real? We need proof. There's no hard evidence. So we're actually digging it out and saying, no, there wasn't hard evidence, but there were whispers and there's people talking about it, and there's these little trails, like breadcrumb trails, that lead us to believe that there was something to the story.
Yeah, exactly. And it's important to talk about those breadcrumbs because they're there for a reason, you know, like it's important to listen to the little voices and the little whispers in our history because so much of it is covered up and hidden. So yeah, that's why I love talking about this stuff.
Yeah.
So, both pro and anti-Hitler writers theorized that the Vril Society engineered the rising of the Nazi Party. So, you know, people are speculating now that the Vril Society is the reason for Nazi Germany, basically, and that they engineered the rising of it. And apparently this Vril energy that is from the book that I was talking about, the Vril energy, some believe to even be real, and that the Vril Society knew of it and was using it to create advanced Nazi technology, because there is a bunch of like Nazi technology, like the bell, and the bell is quite a notorious, like famous. If you're into World War II and Nazi Germany history and stuff, it might be. I'm pretty sure it's a well-known thing, but it's like this UFO sort of looking. It looks like a bell, kind of, and that's why it's called the bell. And they believe that it was real, or if it was real, that it was powered by the Vril energy that the Vril Society had discovered. So, yeah, now look, it seems very out there, even for me, and I believe a lot. So, just bear with me, because there are reasons why I'm deciding to share this information, and also take it and leave it as you are. I'm just here giving you the information, and you can either laugh at it with us, or believe it with us, because there's definitely parts that I believe in. So yeah, just enjoy and just pick up what resonates. But I'll get into why the Vril energy might actually be real, and we'll get to that soon. So they believe that Nazi technology and the Vril Society, like Nazi Germany and the Vril, were in cahoots, and the Vril Society is kind of what was the powerhouse behind Nazi Germany. And it's even possible that Hitler himself believed in Middle Earth and believed in the Vril Society's. Who knows, maybe he was even a member. We can't say that for sure, but we can speculate, because we don't really know much about this secret society. We just know a couple of the members, and even them, they're not that important to the information that I'm sharing anyways. So yeah, so there was also one other evidence for the Vril Society was that there was a pamphlet found by a German author named Peter Bahn, and it was dated to 1930, titled Vril, the Cosmic Elementary Power. So the pamphlet is about the Vril, the energy source, and there was one mention in this pamphlet of the Vril Society, and in this pamphlet said that the Vril Society was found in 1925 to study the uses of Vril energy. So this pamphlet, man, I mean, it's kind of weird. So there's one evidence to prove that maybe they haven't discovered, at this point we don't know, maybe they haven't discovered the Vril energy, maybe they just believe they've discovered the Vril energy. But either way, someone believes they've found the Vril energy, because there's a pamphlet about it. Okay, so Hitler definitely believed in this, because he ordered teams of geologists to mine for tunnel entrances in Italy and Switzerland and Germany, and these geologists scavenged these tunnel systems, these mining systems in these countries to see if they could find any entrances into this Middle Earth society. So he's ordering people to find it. Hitler actually also read the book, The Coming Age, the book that the Vril Society is based off, this science fiction book that has literally created a whole other secret society. And he's read this book, and he even ordered people to investigate the author's life and to figure out where and when he visited the city, because Hitler believed, he had to have this man had to have gone. Why else is he writing all this stuff? Let's investigate his life and figure out when he went. And there's also connections between Hitler's ruling and the book. So, for example, in the book, The Coming Age, children were stationed at watch posts, and children were the eyes of this place in this underground civilization. And then Hitler, he made children the eyes and ears for Nazi Germany. He would brainwash the children and make them dob on their parents or on their friends or on anyone that they heard was against Nazi Germany. They would get the children to dob on them. So they were the eyes and ears. There's connection there. And then also in the book, rulers thought democracy to be stupid and ran in a more more dictatorship way. And I mean, I don't even need to go into Hitler. We already know what happened there, so it's fine. But Hitler believed the same thing. The Vril Society also links to Nazi Germany technology, including including the bell, like I spoke earlier, and you know, I might go down this road if people want to hear it in another episode. But these these Nazi technologies literally link to Project Paperclip, which is where Project Paperclip is about ancient. Why do I keep saying ancient? About German scientists and American spies and stuff. It's a whole other thing, but it links to Project Paperclip. So now we go into Antarctica and how it links with the Vril Society and Middle Earth and all this, because on the 10th of August in 1944, a secret meeting of top German industrialists, bankers, politicians was held, and an operation called Operation Odessa, ODESSA, was set. And this is 100% real. This is not a conspiracy in any way. Project Odessa, or Operation Odessa, was 100% real. And the purpose of the operation was to establish escape routes. It was basically to get everyone out if it all goes to shit. So all the Nazis, not English, only German, only Nazis. They came up with a plan to get them all out, to escape when it all goes to shit. So, and can we just say that this operation definitely turned out to be a success, because more than 2,000 German scientists had gone missing after they surrendered. Same with many Germans, high up German Nazis as well. Literally, we got none of them. We're all celebrating that we won, but there was so many that got away and escaped. We really didn't get justice for what they did. So only only a handful of top-ranking Nazis actually stood trial. So, but we don't really know anything about this operation. We just know it was set in order to get everyone to escape. And there is evidence to say that this whole escape route was actually to get to Antarctica, because there's a base there, and there is first-hand accounts of seeing this base and actually fighting this base after World War II. So what people think is that they fled on ships and went to Antarctica, to this base, which was linked to Middle Earth, or maybe, I don't know, they were trying to link it to Middle Earth or something, I'm not sure. But either way, it was in Antarctica. So Antarctica's a good place because they don't have enemy ships either. They could make their way on their boats because there's not any enemy ships. And so another thing was in 1938, there was an exhibition that they sent to Queen Maudland, which is a part of Antarctica. And in this expedition, they discovered that there was a complex cave system big enough to house an entire city and set up a secret base. And then from there, this is the theory about it. So after they sent this expedition, before, the escape plan was set, they knew, in 1938, we sent expeditions down there, and there's a huge complex cave system, and they started building a base, and this is what the operation was, and then eventually, like, everyone fled, and then they had this base to go to. So the evidence for this theory is that first of all, there was this, when I first heard this theory, okay, it seemed very far out there. Like, I mean, building in the 1930s and 40s, building a huge base in Antarctica, like those horrible conditions, like, come on, man, that's a lot of work. But in 2016, a Nazi base known as Treasure Hunter was discovered by a Russian scientist, and that was in the Arctic. So this thing happens. It's not like there was no bases in either one of them. There was one found in the Arctic. So they definitely, if they went to the Arctic, they probably could do Antarctica as well. And the Nazis actually did send expeditions to Antarctica in 1938. They did send an expedition there in a vessel named Schwabenland. Sorry. Schwabenland. And they sent that, in 1938 to Queen Maud Land. So we don't know for a fact if they found a complex cave system or not, but we do know that they did send an expedition there in 1938. We don't know why, and we don't know what they discovered, but there you go. And then also another really weird thing that surprised everyone was that Nazi Germany agreed to the Antarctic Treaty, which means no military use in the place. It's a nuclear-free zone, and there's free exchanges of, like, scientific plans between countries. Like, we all share all of our information together to learn about Antarctica. And you have to think about, like, why on earth would Nazi Germany agree to this? Like, that's so random. But it makes sense, because if they do have a base there, no nuclear weapons are allowed. I mean, they're breaking the treaty by having military use on the land, but no one else can, you know? Like, no one else can bomb us because of the treaty. And, I mean, then they get all these scientific plans from everyone else. I mean, it's great. And they can just pretend like, oh yeah.
What you're talking about is reminding me of the things that Laura Eisenhower talks about in her videos when she speaks about her great-grandfather, or was it her grandfather? Like Eisenhower, who was the President of the United States, I think before the Second World War. And she talks about how, and it all relates back to that speech that he made about the military-industrial complex in the US at the time. And that was his exit speech. So he had been voted out of office, and he was addressing America. And this was his exit speech that he famously talked about the industrial military complex. And she talks about how he got the blame for a lot of the atrocities that happened and for setting things up in America in such a way that created the pathways for these types of scientific expeditions and things like that, and for Germany to create a world war after he left. And she talks about how he was coerced, and that there were things that were going on behind the scenes that the public didn't know, and why he made decisions that it went against him and his ethos as a president, but he was forced into it because if he didn't do it, the consequences of not doing it were far worse for the people of America and for the people of Earth if he didn't do them. She talks about it openly in her videos. And so I think what you're talking about, why it was so strange for the Nazis to sign such a treaty, there must have been, or from my feeling of what you're talking about, it sounds very similar to what happened with Eisenhower in his time as as president, that maybe they were coerced into it, maybe they were threatened. If there were powerful secret societies that existed at the time and they wanted something, they wanted a new pathway in the world, or they wanted some kind of connection to the rest of the world, whatever it was, whatever their motivation was, maybe they were putting pressure on the Nazis at the time to sign that treaty because they needed something from our world, you know. So, yeah, who knows? We don't know. Nobody knows because, like you were saying, we don't have proof. But I'm talking Laura Eisenhower, who is the granddaughter of Ike Eisenhower, and she, you know, she talks about this exact stuff that we're talking about now happening to her grandfather. And, you know, there is so much information that we disregard and we say, oh, that couldn't be possible, because our egos don't allow us to open Pandora's box to say it could be possible.
Yeah.
And I know for one in my life, every single time I've closed Pandora's box and said, I don't want to look at it. It can't be possible. It's just too much. It's too weird. It's too, you know, whatever. That person would never do that. And I've given the benefit of the doubt, or I've closed the box to say, you know, that's unimaginable. I can't look at it. The box eventually opens and the stuff that's in there you would never believe. Yeah. Which is, you know, why I'm open to listening to all this research that you're talking about, because for us to say it's not possible, it's all lies, it's just fantasy or whatever, and closing that lid on possibility, that is, to me, a mistake.
Yeah. Oh, so thank you. Yeah, trying to figure out. So there was another base in the Arctic, and the Nazis did send an expedition in 1938, and the Nazis agreed to this random treaty.
Yeah.
And then there was also two boats, the U-977 and the U-530. They arrived in Argentina 2 months after Germany's surrender. So they arrived in Argentina 2 months after Germany's surrender, and the crews were interrogated because they were like, these are German ships, got to interrogate them. And they were interrogated, and they disclosed that the Germans had built huge subterranean structures under Antarctica, and that these boats were the ones used to drop off Hitler and other German officials to the South Pole. So now we have two captains, two boats with two captains saying that they dropped off Hitler and a bunch of other people at these huge underground bases in Antarctica. Now, it is possible for them to make it to Argentina in 2 months. It is possible, but you know, it is in good conditions. You know, like you can't be doing that in shitty conditions, but you can do it in good conditions. Then this led to we believe this led to Operation High Jump, which is by the US. And I don't know why, but for some reason I believe that this was talked about in one of the Avenger movies. I don't know, I feel like they talked about this and mentioned this, I'm not sure. But there was Operation High Jump, which is the largest expedition to Antarctica with 4,700 men, 33 aircraft, and 13 ships. And they say it was nothing to do with military. However, they used military men, military ships, and military aircraft. They, it was, and this is, and this operation was organised by Richard E. Byrd, Admiral Byrd. So, this is where it comes full circle, guys. See how I did that? Anyways, officially, the purpose was to establish a research base. Okay, they say it was to establish a research base. So, okay, no, then I take it back, sorry. It was known as a military expedition, my mistake. But it was only to build a research base, not anything else. But what is confusing is why all the military for building a base? Like, would you rather construction workers, like, or people who know how to build things? Like, why are you bringing the military? It is quite an odd thing. And also, it closed. It was supposed to last 8 months, this expedition, but it closed a month early, and we don't know why it was disclosed. Like, we don't know why it finished a month early. But allegedly, Admiral Byrd located the German base that was there and bombed it. And it was just, we don't really know. I don't really know. I think I say somewhere how, I don't know how we discovered this, like what leaked, okay, but I was watching a video where I got all this other information from, so I know, like, in my research, this comes from the same place that has given evidence before, so I don't know where the evidence is behind how we know that allegedly Byrd had located and bombed the German base, but they obviously didn't. I don't think they destroyed it, because there's also another version of the tale where Admiral Byrd actually, his aircrafts were shot down by unidentified flying objects. So there's two versions of this story, and I don't know really why they're so different. And then apparently this was what drew the expedition to a close, because 48 hours after this happened, Admiral Byrd had called off the expedition. And this event, here we go. Okay, so this event was recorded in a European periodical known as Crescent, a European periodical. And then also there was another operation launched to Antarctica called Operation Tabarin, and it was executed by the Royal Navy and the Special Air Services, and it lasted between 1943 and 1945 to establish permanent presence in Antarctica, Argentina, and Chile to monitor Nazi activity. So this is an actual operation. This is a different one. This is not the Admiral Byrd one. This is now another operation, by the way. And the British actually successfully managed to establish multiple bases in Antarctica. Former special air services involved in this operation they have revealed details of a battle in 1945 between the British and the Germans, and they say that there was a Nazi base and that there was a siege that lasted until the air services, the special air services arrived, and that's what stopped the siege. But yeah, like the British, after the siege went on, British then searched the land for Nazi bases and discovered a subterranean mega base. So what happened was they were in Antarctica, according to the Special Air Services that later on told the tale. They say that the British people that were there to establish bases and monitor Nazi Germany, they were in a siege with Nazis, but they didn't see the Nazi base. They just knew, oh, there's Nazis and we're now in a siege. And so they got through the siege because the air services came and probably, you can put two and two together, but they got out of the siege, they won. And then they were like, okay, where are these Nazis coming from? We got to find them out. And so they then went and searched the land, and then they found a base, a Nazi base, this huge underground Nazi base. And they launched a counterattack on it, and a statement was given in 2005 by the last survivor of the siege. And this is what the quote is. The base was in a vast underground cavern that was warmed geothermally. In the cavern were huge underground lakes. The Nazis had constructed a huge base into the caverns and had even built docks for U-boats. Hangars for strange planes and excavations galore had been documented. The power that the Nazis were utilising was by volcanic activity, which gave them heat for steam and electricity. We were overwhelmed by the number of personnel scurrying about like ants. Huge constructions were being built. The Nazis, it appeared, had been on Antarctica a long time. And this statement was given by James Robert, a civil servant of the UK Ministry of Defence, who then released it to the public. So, yeah, that's all the information that I have so far about all this, but very interesting.
Wow, Juliet, you've done your homework. It's wonderful.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Is the base still there? Is it gone? Is there actually this civilization based off this book that has caused all this weird stuff to go on? Like, I don't know. Many questions.
All very good questions.
Yeah. So, I hope you enjoyed. But I've got to go because otherwise I'm going to get kicked out of this library room.
Yeah. Yeah, I have to go too. So, awesome. Till next time.
Yeah, till next time.
Yes. Thank you, Juliet. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Mwah. Love you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.